Hey everybody, welcome back to another chilly morning in Arizona. I think it's like only 51 or 52 degrees out here this morning, which is chilly for us. It won't be long before I come out this time of the morning and it'll be 100 degrees. So got to get done what we can get done out here. Now that I have the hole in the dash cut, I believe I have all the parts to do the air boxes. The dashboard is 99% complete. New gauges are in, all the new switches are in, the cables are in, the speakers are in, the glove box is in, the wiring is in. I've put the, you sit down there again. Don't you fall on me now. I've put the, I'll put that little Bluetooth stereo receiver in the back of my 3D printed glove box liner. And this unit's pretty much ready to go. The only thing I have left is I welded up the holes for my phone mount. And this is a RAM mount. I'm not sure I'm going to put this back in. I like it. The dashboard in the Jeep is a long way away from the driver, and this worked out really good. I 3D printed some TPU caps for it to replace the old rubber ones which fell apart, but I welded my holes up. So I'm still kind of tossing that around. If I put that back on, I want to do it now while it's out, but haven't 100% made my mind up yet. But today, I've cleaned an area up for myself, and it's time for these guys. And I've got to rip these apart and going to do some wire wheeling and some painting. Going to throw away the old heater core and blower motor. Going to try and get all those flapper doors and those little levers all working right. This thing has a lever and flapper door system on it, which is like, you know, Rube Goldberg must still have been living when they thought that up, because I've never quite understood it. A YouTuber named You Can Do It, that's the letter U, then Can Do It, has a really good video on disassembling these, getting these to work. He even gives templates and sizes to cut all these different foam gaskets. I was going to 3D print those, and I did a couple of them, and I'm just not too thrilled with it. So I bought a roll of 1/4 inch foam, and I'm going to go ahead and use his templates. Alright, so here's what this looks like taken apart. And obviously I've got a bunch of cleanup. I'm going to take a wire wheel to this and then prime it and paint it. And oh my, this is just a drain outlet. Yeah, that's fine the way it is. Everything's okay. This Jeep spent the first 20 years of its life, about 80, 90, yeah, not quite. The first 10 to 12 years of its life in Washington State. I bought it. The original owner was a guy who owned an apple orchard, and he was an airline pilot, and he had a Corvette for driving back and forth to the airport, and then all he used the Jeep for was driving around his apple orchard. And when I bought it, it actually had sawdust tires on it. So yeah, I'm going to get that cleaned up. That's why it's not rustier than it is. Also, we didn't salt the roads in Washington State, and then it came to Arizona. There's the heater core. The heater core seems to be what fails inside of here first. I have never had a blower motor fail, but the heater cores fail. And when you have the heater core out, you might as well put a blower motor in it. Now there's a foam around two sides of this. I don't know whether there should have been around there. Is it still inside? It's not. I'll set that to one side because I got a new one. There is a flapper door here. There is a cable that runs inside. There's a flapper door here. So first thing first, I just need to kind of, for my own state of mind, document how this stuff is. Let me turn the light on. There we go. That's a little better, isn't it? Let me take you back and show you the heater core again now that I have the light turned on. And you can see it's failed, it's leaking. I I didn't have it bypassed, but it was dripping inside. And anyway, there's that. And you can see the amount of filth inside of it. Let me get the other piece back up and show you now that I have turned the light on. And you can see how that is. It's got surface rust on it, but it's solid. So I'm just going to clean it up, prime it, and paint it. And this I'm just going to kind of try and carefully document where everything is in it. See, there's a flapper door back in here. It's operated by that lever. And it seems to be moving smoothly. But I'm going to try and get all that out and get it cleaned up. So, but you can see it's got some rusty parts in it. This door, this is a small door with a large piece of rubber on it, and it's going to have to come out of there. Now, this door down here, this door, I'm not seeing any rust or anything on that. There's only a little, I chopped myself with that wire brush, didn't I? That's what I'm saying. Wear gloves if you do it. It has a little bit of foam down on this end, but it seems pretty solid on that rod. I'm not sure how they got the thing in there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it in there. This part here, it's okay. This cable moves really. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do about that cable, because it moves really hard. Its bracket's welded in, but it just pushes into that. So let's pop that out. If we can pop it out without knocking out that, there we go. Now, can I get that out? Yes, there we go. So now all I need to do is take that push nut off of there, take this push nut off, and I can slide that cable off and hopefully lube that cable up and get it moving freely. And if not, I guess I'll have to replace it. I did buy a bunch of these push nuts, not sure I bought enough, but I'll deal with that when the time comes. I want that one to come off of there easy, does it? Come on off of there. Is there a special tool for these push nuts? I'm just going to try and, there it comes, that got it. I'm going to put it over here with the new ones on. You know what? Let's put it over here with the stuff I took off of this. There we go. That's a smart idea. So now I should be able to take this out. And I'm going to have to do some wire wheeling and some scraping that rubber. Man, I don't know what to use for that. I'm just going to use this stuff on it. In Arizona, we don't move these doors very often. The air conditioner even has its own blower in it. So let's see what we can do to get this cleaned up a bit now. Sheet metal, all I think I really need to do is spray it down and clean it up. Replace this gasket. This gasket's important because it seals it to the top air box. But the rest of this, I think I'm just going to, I may paint it, but I'm just going to try and get the rust off of these parts here and clean the rest up, and that's going to be it for it. So I don't know that anybody's even producing this rubber gasket that goes on this door. I'd rather put it back with nothing on it than put it back, try to piece that thing back together. So I'm going to have to try and source one of those or figure out what I'm going to do about it. I suppose it is something I could 3D print or try and make out of this foam. It's a lot thinner than that foam. It's more like rubber than anything else, but I'm going to have to hunt for one because it ain't going back in like that. Alright, slightly more info on the blower motor upgrade. And I know this upgrade is as old as the hills, probably dates to the 80s. But here is the difference in diameter of the two blower motors. You can see this one, even without the collar on it, is considerably larger. You want to get the PM102, the shafts need to be about the same length This one has a slightly different sized nut on it, so don't lose the nut, but the shaft itself is the same length and the same diameter. There is a couple of push nuts on the old blower shaft to keep the squirrel cage from going down so far that it rubs on the motor body housing. So don't forget, the new one doesn't come with it. You'll have to transfer those or put new ones in. And this old motor, I mean, it works okay. I mean, I know it's old, but it still works. But the shaft spins freely. But I just thought we'd take a quick look and see what the difference in the power between them is. Metal spot. I know this battery's good. It's brand new and I just charged it. Here we go. There we go. All right, here's the original motor. I don't have an RPM gauge, but you can hear about how it is. Let's switch the fan to the new motor. And I have to be careful not to slide it down because I have not transferred those. And I'd like not to cut my nose off in the process, although I realize how entertaining that would be. You ready? Here's the new one. Ow, and the wire ow. So one other thing you might want to do is you might want to check your wiring and make sure your wiring can handle this, because I'm guessing that runs 2 to 3 times the speed that the original one does. So transfer your push nut so it doesn't rub. If your original squirrel cage is good, I see no reason not to use it. One thing I want to mention is that you can do it. Two's Jeep was a year earlier than mine. Mine's an 80, his was a 79. And I notice his little heater diverter door is, while it's basically the same shape and thing that this is, I've got a ledge all around here, an offset, and his was flat. His also had just a flat piece of neoprene on it, and mine had this rubber ring that went on it. And I did cut his piece out, but since his was flat, his plate here was flat and mine's not, I'm not 100%, and it goes on this side, it goes like this. I'm not going to get much of a glue on there because of that not flat edge. So I'm not 100% sure that's going to work for me, or I might have to use a thin piece around there to build that up to where that sits right. Because this diverter door is one thing I want to get right. Let me show you why. The heater core sits in here like that, and this diverter door goes in like this, right? Nope, 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 like this. There we go. That's how it goes in. Sorry if I got my head in the way again. I needed to see that hole. And what this thing does, and the blower squirrel cage is in here, over here. Let me move this a bit. I got a bunch of crap piled all over here. The blower goes in here and it blows air this way. When this door is flipped up like that, the air coming through blows through the heater core. When it's flipped down like that, the air is diverted past the heater core. Now, when you live in a cold temperature and you're always getting some hot air leaking into the cabin, even when the heat's turned off, probably not that big a deal. But when it's 115 degrees out and your little aftermarket hot rod air conditioning is struggling like hell to keep the inside of the cabin below 90, you don't want any heat from the heater core coming in, because the way this is set up, there is always hot water running through this heater core. There is no valve that shuts it on and off the way there is in some other vehicles. So I have given up trying to get this piece here to fit on as one piece. I've glued some small strips around that area that's clearance down, that ledge, to make it flat, but then I'm still having to deal with this arm sticking up. And there's just no way to constantly put pressure on that while at least I can't think of a way. So what I did is I took my piece and I clearanced it for that rod, which meant cutting it in 2 pieces, unfortunately. I tried to avoid it, but it just wasn't happening. So I still have some trimming left to do, but that's going to fit on like that, and I'm going to glue it. Okay, so here's the finished part here, and yes, I'm well aware it lacks any, I mean, it looks like a caveman banged this out with stone knives and bear skins, but you know what? It's as good as it's going to get. Let's see if it works. Let me throw it together and we'll throw our eyeballs in there and see what we see. Okay, so let's see if I can once again hold the camera, the flashlight, and work the door. So there's our door in there. And I need to trim a little bit off of there, don't I? But I mean, all in all, that's not too shabby. Just need to trim a tiny little bit off of there, and I think that'll be okay. I lubed the cable up. The cable looks like crap, but it actually is in decent condition and works pretty good. I'm back. It is the next day, and now that we have this flapper door working the way we want it and the neoprene on it the way I like it, it's time to move on to this flapper door. This flapper door we did yesterday, that one turns heat on and off. This flapper valve directs it between your feet and the defrost. And if you're watching, or you have watched, or you're going to watch, you can do it Tu's video. His Jeep is 1 year different than mine. Mine's a 1980. His is either a 79 or an 81. I honestly forget. And his doors are different than mine. I suspect this has something to do with maybe ease of manufacture, cost of manufacture, or maybe just a different supplier to the doors. I noticed the heater valve door was different on, heater control door was different on mine, and now this door is different too. His is 2 pieces. The rod pulls out of the door, and there's actually this part of the rod here is sheet metal on his. Mine, it's 1 piece. It's tack welded or spot welded together, but that does not come apart, which means you can't put the rod in and then put the door on it. You somehow have to finagle that in, and I remember I kind of bent it to get it out of there. Not the door itself, but the I kind of spread the plastic, which I'm guessing is really the only way to do it. There's really no other way to get that back in there. And I'm not sure how they did it at the factory level, but ow, there it goes. That's what you got to do. And that's how that door works. Okay, so I did go ahead and put foam on both ends of that because I figured, you know, hey, why not? The 80s were kind of a weird year. Late 70s, 80s were kind of a weird year for AMC Jeep. Because if you go back and you look at the advertisements, say for this Jeep, my 1980 CJ-7 Renegade, they'll show like 2 pictures of it. You know, the first picture of it is it ripping, roaring through mud or up or down hills. And the next picture is of it with it all shinied up and some guy getting in a suit getting out of it and a woman in a evening gown getting out of the other side, you know, and they're at a 5-star restaurant and he's handing the keys to a valet. So this might have been just to keep it from clunking and try to make it seem more civilized when it really isn't. I just noticed that my bench belt sander does a really, really nice job profiling this stuff. I would never have thought it. If you need to take the sharp edges down, which I did, made it a little too long and need to shorten it. If you have a fairly fine belt on it, and by fairly fine, I mean I'm talking about, you know, like, you know, 180 grit instead of, you know, 80, then, and you're careful about how you go at it, it profiles it really nicely. I was surprised. I'm going to go back and do the other one where I was really rough cut it. There we go. All right, now let's try it again. Let's get the tin cover. If I did much of this, I'd also build some kind of jig to hold this thing upright because it is ridiculously awkward to work on. All right, one more try, hopefully the last one. All right. All right. There we go. All right. I know you can't see it. And if I flip it, and is there any way you could see that? No, not really. In the end there, maybe. But that works nice and smooth now. and it doesn't metal to metal or metal to plastic clunking. Okay, I think I'm ready to put this lower box all together. Let's do it. If any of you are interested, this heater core I'm using is a Spectra 94609. And, oh, wrong. And she goes like that there. I think that's all that was inside of here. I'm going to double check, but for now I'm just going to loosely put the tin on it and test everything. Okay, so here's another little part in it with a door. This part bolts over the blower on the inside of the car, and it's got a door in it, and I guess it directs whether air comes in as fresh or from the inside. I'm guessing, I don't know what else it might do, but as you can see, that door also at one point looks like it had a bit of foam on it, and it kind of catches right there, and it looks like it's just rubbing. Looks like the back of the metal here is just rubbing on the plastic, and I can see where it's rubbing. I'm going to clearance that a bit, put a piece of foam on it, glue it, put it back together, call it good. Okay, one thing, quick thing to touch on with this piece. I don't know if you can see it, but this is bowed in. And I tried heating the plastic up and pushing it back out, and that looked like it was going to cause a disaster. Maybe you can see it like that better. And I gave up on that, and I clearanced it a little bit in here, because what was happening is when the door, this part of the metal of the flapper door was catching on it, grinding on it. It wasn't moving smoothly. So I got done clearancing that. I clearanced the sheet metal a little bit, and I got that working smooth. And then the next thing that happened as I was playing with all of it is one of these went flying on me. So I have a red 3D printed one now. And I put my neoprene gasket on it, and the next thing that was happening was it wasn't closing correctly because the material is either thicker than the original material. The plastic is still warped. I could clearance the plastic some more, but instead I went to my belt sander, and I don't know if you can see it, but I just put an angle on the top of that neoprene, and that's going to let that door shut. Okay, I believe I have this thing done. And this is just the lower air box, and I'm going to stop here. But all the doors work nice and smoothly. And I gave it a nice coat of that kind of rubberized bed liner just because I thought the texture would look cool. And my blower is in, heater core is in, and everything is locked down. So this piece is done. And I can't tell you how happy that makes me, because I mean, I shouldn't complain too much because at least I got to do this inside the house and I wasn't laying in the ground, you know, in the dirt or in the gravel, working over my head doing it. But man, I must have taken some of those doors in and out of there 15 or 20 times before I was satisfied with how they were working. But it's done, and I'm very happy, and I think it's going to work really well. I'm not sure how much of all these. I think I must have 30 videos, chunks of this procedure. I don't know how much of it I'm going to post or how long it's going to be. I may just post all of it, and people who I can really help out with this, let them sift through it. And depending on how awful of a soup sandwich it is, I may just post little chunks of it and make it short. So anyway, it's Friday. I'm done with this thing for the weekend. I've got to work tomorrow actually on other things, customer work. I don't think I'm going to get back to the fresh air box until Monday. But I'll make a video on that too. I'm hoping that'll be a little easier, but that Rube Goldberg device on it with all the levers and cables, it has me a bit concerned. Anyway, I'm going to relax. Hope I helped some of you out. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye for now.